Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Prasant Ranawat. Today I'll be discussing my key takeaways from my Sociology 100 course and explain how they connect to the real world. My key takeaways will be from the units deviance, social inequality, institutional racism, and I'll try my best to connect them to the sociological theories. Let's dive in. So my first takeaway will be from unit 3, which is deviance, crime and social control. Deviance is itself not a bad word. It is how we view towards it. There are two types of theories in deviance. They are labeling theory and strength theory. Labeling theory is a kind of theory how people label someone in the society. It argues that deviance is not inherent in an act but is labeled, attached to it by society. So the real world connection will be the war on drugs and how certain communities are labeled as deviant, then policed differently than other communities. And heading towards strength theory, this theory suggests that deviance arises when one cannot reach its success, when one cannot achieve its success and use different means to achieve that success. Example, individuals from disadvantaged backgrounds might turn into criminals to achieve financial success. This theory suggests that deviance arises when individuals cannot achieve socially valued goods through legitimate sources. So the real world applications will be the changing views of society towards tattoos, as we discussed this in our lecture. In some countries, tattoos are considered as sin, and many countries used to punish people for having a tattoo and body modifications. Body modifications and tattoo were once considered as a deviant. Now it is being more accepted in many societies, in many countries as well. Another example of deviance can be mental health and deviance. Behaviors that were once considered as deviant, maybe because of mental health illness, are now leading towards treatment instead of punishment. My another takeaway will be from Unit 4, Social Inequality and Mobility in Canada. In this lecture, I was able to learn that social stratification is universal but variable. Social stratification prevails in different countries in different ways, such as in Northern America. In America, it can be white people versus black people, whereas in other countries it can be the caste system, the upper caste, lower caste, the differences between them. My another key takeaway is from Unit 5, Race and Ethnicity. My key ideas are from scapegoat theory and institutional racism. Scapegoat theory, it suggests how minority groups are always humiliated and dominated by other groups. This theory explains prejudice and discrimination as a result of frustration and aggression directed towards a minority group. The real world connection can be blaming immigrants for economic problems or any other kind of problems faced by countries like Canada, US. Institutional racism. This concept highlights how racism is embedded in the structures and system of society, not just towards individual attitudes. The real world connection can be racial profiling by law enforcement, disparities in healthcare outcomes, and systematic biases in hiring practices, in hiring of different roles for individuals. How biased a company can be. The real world applications can be the Black Lives Matter movement, also highlighting the real story of how a black man was killed by police officers, which we discussed in our lectures in the class. The lack of diversity in higher level corporate positions, indigenous experiences in Canada, highlighting the historical and ongoing impact of systematic racism on indigenous communities. Now, heading towards my last takeaway 4, which is from Unit 6, Gender and Sex. My key term will be gender and sex are not interchangeable. Also, I'll be discussing some of the theories like control theory and functionalism. Control theory. This theory suggests that social control mechanisms, example family, school, community, influence individuals' behavior and conformity to social norms. The real world connection can be the way that gender roles are reinforced through family and educational systems. Talking about myself, when I was a child, I was taught how to behave like a boy. The society from where I was brought up always encouraged girls to have long hairs, whereas boys were always discouraged and told to keep their hair short. Heading towards functionalism, this perspective society views as a system of interrelated parts that work together to maintain stability. Real world connections functionalists might argue that traditional gender roles contribute to social order, but this view is often criticized for overlooking inequalities. The real world application can be the gender pay gap, illustrating how gender inequality persists in the workplace. For the same work, for the same opportunity, a male may be paid higher and women may be paid lower, having exactly the same qualifications. The transgender right movements, challenging traditional notions of gender and advocating for the rights of transgender individuals, the change in women roles in the workforce. This concludes our discussion. Thank you for watching.